So this morning we're going to be talking about forest bathing. And I just wanted to tell a quick story about something that my mom started when I was, when she was pregnant, actually. And I feel like this story has really been a part of my relationship with nature. But she used to tell me that when she was pregnant, she would walk around anywhere and everywhere and see nature, and she would say, "Oh, baby, look at this tree, look at how beautiful it is," or "Look at this flower, baby, look at how beautiful it is." And so I feel like nature has always been a part of my DNA, something that my mom gifted to me from a very early age. And so it's always been a part of my life. And I'm so excited to share this conversation about forest bathing with you. In fact, when I heard about forest bathing, I was very intrigued. I'm like, what is that? Like, what's the difference between being outside and going hiking? So what is forest bathing? Well, it turns out there's a lot of differences in forest bathing than just going out in nature, which we're going to be talking about with Adriana. So Adriana has a doctorate in clinical psychology, and she is also a certified forest bathing therapy guide. And with that, Adriana, welcome. It's so nice to have you join us from LA this morning. And thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom about forest bathing.
Well, hello, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you for
Good
inviting
morning. So
me to
let's
share with you. Yeah.
let's start. We've talked quite a bit over the last couple of weeks about your story, and I'd love for you to share your story about growing up in Argentina and as a little girl, and how that's influenced your love of nature.
Yes. Well, I can't talk about Argentina without touching the area of my heart. Uh, that's where my roots are. And my heart's very much connected to that, even though I'm 12,000 miles away. And I grew up on a ranch, with nature around. I lived I was raised there until, I think I was 13, 14 when I left. And well, I left to a little town, again, surrounded by nature. And until then, I was on a ranch where there was, no TV. The nature was my playground. And the memories as a child are incredible, and the flatlands you can see as far as you can just see as far as, so you felt like you were touching the sunsets, and I remember just running towards the sunset, trying to catch it actually.
Oh.
And then oh, the nights, memories of, with my brother, trying to catch fireflies, so all that stayed with me. So nature, I developed this relationship, this emotional relationship with nature. And that stayed with me through my life, and nature became my refuge and my resource. So through the ups and downs of life that we all have, all our struggles and all that, my body always, is go back, is that need, is a biological need of going back to nature. And when I get into nature, I just give it time. I get into that stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And that stillness is like, even now, as I'm talking, I'm just gave like, it's just that breath, that exhale. And that is incredible for your nervous system. And it just balances you out.
Well, let's talk about forest nature or forest bathing, because, it is about the immersion of the senses. So please tell us about the definition of forest bathing and what that means.
Yeah, the definition is, this is a research-based, scientifically proven practice of going into nature, immersing yourself with your, full, sensory exercise, sensory embodied practice that is very restorative for our, emotional, physical, mental well-being. And because, I mean, it has the health side of it, that we can talk about it, and the research and all that it has come in, is coming out of Japan, has come out of Japan, and now, it's more and more research about the health benefits to our immune system, to our, nervous system. But it's also, and is the most, really powerful, is the transformational effect that it has on people, and people report that.
And what will you tell us a little bit about that transformation that people encounter when they forest bathe?
Yeah, the transformational, I mean, personally, and I know by reports of people that they do the walks with me, is this realization, this profound realization, when you go into nature in this particular way, where you are switching from an intellectual processes of the mind, and you stop the human doing, and you're starting to be a human being. You start realizing that you are connected with nature, that you are part of nature, that you're part of this big web of life, and that has a profound effect in people. And it has an effect because they realize that whatever the state of nature of the environment, it also influences them, it affects them. So all of a sudden, it's like we need each other. We have this realization, and we start caring about it. We start having that relationship that I was talking, that I have because I grew up in nature. That relation is an emotional relationship. And when you have an emotional relationship, it's going to be more difficult. You are inspired to protect it because we protect what we love, like Jacques Cousteau says, we protect what we love.
Well, one of the things that this interconnection with nature is so profound, and one of the things that is so meaningful about this connection is that respect, right? And one of the things that we've seen in the pandemic is that people, newbies, are going out into nature and they don't have that sense of respect for those of us who have had that deep connection with nature in the past. Can you talk a little bit more about that? That, I mean, you've discussed it a little bit, but what is that weave that brings us like so close to like this tree outside with the snow that I see right now, or going on that hike and down that path? Like, talk to us about that respect that you gain being in nature more.
Well, I think that the respect comes because we take, well, number one, there is nothing in our human body that doesn't come from nature.
Right.
And when we walk in this particular way, where we are really taking the time to be there, to be present, to observe the life that is going on, the continual impermanence of things, when we start relating in this way, there is two things that I think have happened. One of the things is that we become, we know that we're part of the, we get in our bodies, in our bones, that we do belong. So there is on one hand, it's very humbling experience because we realize that we're big of this big web of life, and it's much more than our single life, our own cravings. There is so much more out there. So that's very humbling, but at the same time, it's very powerful to know that we belong to this. Right. And that influences a lot our isolation, and we have a sense of belonging. So loneliness that we are affecting, we're having so much now. And I think this connection of being in nature that way, and then know it, intimately that way, we care, we honor, we start respecting it, because
Right.
it's the respect towards ourselves as well. It's this self-awareness that we get from nature.
So, Adriana, let's step back a little bit. And I think this is such an interesting statistic. But why was 2007 a milestone?
Well, 2007 is when most people in the planet start living indoors. And I mean, the latest study was, I think, that 87% of Americans live indoors, plus 6% in the cars. So that leaves very little to being outdoors. And that has detrimental effects to our immune system.
Mhm. It's huge. It's a huge impact.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, we were talking about 2007, but why don't you tell us a little bit about Shinrin-Yoku?
Okay, Shinrin-Yoku. Forest bathing is the translation, is the English translation from the Japanese term Shinrin-Yoku. And why Shinrin-Yoku is because Shinrin-Yoku it means forest bath. This practice was first studied. We all know that nature is good for us. We all knew, we all feel it, but it has never really been scientifically studied. So Japan in the 80s was, it was got, in the 80s was when the tech era arrived. A lot of people start moving from the countryside into having an urban life, indoors, under cement, working long hours. And that produced a health crisis. So the anxiety, the depression, cancer soar, and the government, all the scientists at the government, they said we have to do something. They started different projects, and because Japan is about 70% covered in forest, one of the projects asks, what are the effects of nature in the human body? And that was phenomenal, the benefits that they came out.
And we're going to be talking about the benefits in just a second, but they also include forest bathing in schools and in corporations now. Is that right?
And they are is in the health system in Japan, and they, doctors can prescribe it. Actually, they are prescribing it as prevented and also as alongside the traditional medicine. Yeah, and they have a lot of healing trails. Last time I heard it was like 30. We have about 30 healing trails, and then also South Korea has invested millions of dollars in forest bathings, and they're developing incredible resources there for going into nature. Yeah.
Well, obviously the governments are seeing the benefits of forest bathing, and
I think there is a big movement going on. People are really starving for this. We start seeing it. I mean, it's really picking up everywhere, the interest, and people realize that yes, there is, it's simple. It's just simple as just taking a walk and yeah.
Well, and we're so disconnected, from nature, being in our homes, being in our cars, and bringing back that connection to nature is so important. And I know that you're going to be talking about the health benefits. So will you tell us about the health benefits? And there's so many. It's amazing.
And I can bore you probably with that, but in general, I just one of the most remarkable things that they find out is that, and actually it's fascinating. I love telling the story of the trees, the phytoncides. When you go into the forest, the smell, that aroma of the forest, those are scents that the trees emit, and the phytoncides, and the reason that is forest bath is exactly is because the trees, evergreens, especially pines, so cedars, they shower themselves in phytoncides in this sense, where when they feel threatened by an insect, a bacteria, and is their own self-mechanism. And these phytoncides are the antibacterial, antivirus, antifungus, And when we inhale those phytoncides, because we evolve in nature, we're perfectly matched to receive these phytoncides. And these phytoncides is what is really good for us. And the things that they find out is that it triggers the production of our natural killer cells. That's remarkable. And not only promotes promotes and fosters the production, but it also activates the cells. And the natural killer cells, NK cells, are the white cells that we have in our bloodstream that whose job is to identify these stress cells that they have the potential to be cancerous, and they destroy it. And if you already are, if you already have cancer, they help you with that as well. So that is remarkable.
That is remarkable. There's so much to be said about that, and the impacts on the immune system, and exactly what you shared. How about the psychological benefits of forest bathing?
Well, the psychological benefits is that there is something that happens in nature also when you go into these well, I don't know if to call it trance, but if you get into this state, is that we switch from a direct attention to something that is a little bit more subliminal, a fascinating state, in a state of fascination. And that is really, it just energizes, it clears our mind. And then when we go back to our normal activities of every day, we feel so much focus, so much, it restores our, cognitive abilities. And we feel whole. We feel, being part of nature, it just makes you feel we are biologically, we need it, because we were, if we think back, we were hunters and gatherers. And we used the earth to survive. We used to be attuned to the cycle of life. We used to know how to walk in nature without disturbing nature. We used to know that if we went into a forest, into the woods, and all of a sudden the birds stopped singing, that something was going on.
Right.
We knew what the different phases of the moon meant for our health. We were attuned. We used all that for our survival. So we have this biological need of going back to nature, which it goes back to what I said about taking refuge in nature. When I feel distressed, or when I feel sad, or I go into nature. But it also is not only, there is this other side, is this emotional relationship that you have, because it's a reciprocal relationship. It's a give and take. We don't just go to nature to take from nature. We also go to nature to take delight in nature.
Well, and I always feel that
Reward.
What was that last part?
And to feel rewarded by the miracles.
Well, I feel like when you go out into nature, you feel like you're a part of something bigger, that you get outside of yourself, that you connect with, what holds us, this earth that holds us, and the trees, and it's like this intricate relationship that we have. And I also wanted just to add on is that anytime that, I go into nature, I feel, when I come home, I feel whole again.
Yeah.
Like that I'm fully in my body, because it's so easy to get distracted in the world that we live in because there's so many inputs. But when you're in nature, the input is just that, the natural world.
That's right. Well, it awakening us, it's something that we really crave, which is the feeling of feeling alive.
Right.
It's that wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we stop, when we go into nature, we stop that intellectual exercise and we switch to this sensory practice.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, as guys of, you know, we were trained as says, we guide, we open the door. We don't give any instruction whatsoever. We just open the door. We guide you to, you know, through an invitation to pay attention to the shades, you know, the dance of the winds with the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're on your own. And your body, the forest, does the therapy. Because you're on your own. So sometimes you go with an intention. This is, you don't go to, I mean, because we tend to go with an intention. Yes, I want to go there and feel good and not, you know, even that's what the mind does. You know, the mind wants to be in the driver's seat all the time. But when we're able to switch from that, you know, that's what happens. We have the body is going to receive what the body needs. Perhaps not what you wanted,
Mm-hmm.
but what the body needs. So we open the doors. Yeah, we open the doors, and the forest does the therapy. And for some, you know, for some people it might be they find the tree, they sit in there, they feel the bark on their back, and they just take this, you know, this exhale, they exhale, deep breath in, exhale, and they just feel that they've been supported. For other people, it might be just, you know, the singing of the birds. It reminds them of when their mothers in their childhood used to
Mm-hmm.
speak to them. I mean, each person would have their own unique experience according to
so
what they bring there.
You know, my mom said when I was little and we would walk on the shoreline of Seattle, she goes, you will never forget the smell, the sense of smell and what this smells like right now. And when I smell that again, it takes me right back to that moment with my mom. And it's like all of the senses are touched by nature in whatever regard, whether it's water or, you know, where I am, it's, you know, I'm looking on this beautiful snow right now. But it just takes you back and it brings you back into your body. I love how you
to your essence. It takes you to your bare soul, to your essence, to your core. That
I
we
love
so much separation now.
So it does bring us back to our core essence. And one of the things that we were talking about, Adriana, was, you know, to explain what forest bathing is not. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, it's well, number one, the first thing that, you know, forest bathing sometimes is a little bit misleading, and people, you know, it says, oh, is there any water? Do I bring my bathing? Definitely no. We're not jumping in any rivers or doing anything or running naked or anything like that. So no, it's just simply about, you know, the phyton size of the shower on the trees covering themselves. So we cover and we bathe in all this goodness, all these, you know, thousands of compounds in the forest. And it's not a naturalistic it's not a naturalistic talk. We're not telling people, oh, this is this kind of tree, or this is that kind of bird, or look at this, or, you know, we're not giving instructions of that sort, because that would be engaging again our cognitive process. And that's exactly, you know, we want to, like Muir says, you know, leave the mind behind and find our soul. You know?
So tell us a little bit about the experience of forest bathing with a guide versus just going, you know, hiking.
Well, the health benefits We don't have a contract with the trees, that we said, oh, if you see somebody without a guide, don't shower themselves in phyton size. So we don't. So the health benefit, you're going to get it anyway. So you go for a walk, yes, you're going to be smelling, you're going to have, that health benefits come to you, obviously that. But what is important with the guide is that the guide, no matter how your intention of slowing down and really switching is very, very difficult. And you might, unless you have a contemplative practice, a very sound, contemplative practice that you can actually go in nature that way, for most people, it's very, very difficult to switch, to shift, from the busy mind to just being present. Very difficult. Or they might, your well-intentioned, last 15, 20 minutes, if so, and then you start again with your to-do list. So the way that the guide does it, so I would recommend that at least you go with a guide 2-3 times until you realize what it is, and then perhaps you can start doing it solo afterwards if you can. But we have a certain standard sequence in which one, we follow, first we start with the pleasures of presence, and it's like a short meditation where we just scan the body with the senses, which I think we if we have time, we can do a little bit of that. And then after that, we do a little practice. We start with the invitations, and we have different invitations in which one, 15 minutes, we let them go and experience. And it's all about slowing down. It's about switching from the doing to the being. And it's incredible. People that they arrive there with, with any issues, they just forget. You just give them the invitation, and most people say, oh my God, I just got involved in that, and I just forgot to be sad.
So
just
need that, right?
It just happens, and we don't give any instructions, we just give these invitations. And then in between the invitations, we ask them to we gather in a little circle, and we do a little share, a few words, just very quickly, and then we send them off to another invitation. And we have, a 3-hour, this is not about a goal of getting somewhere, it's about being there. So in 3 hours, we probably do 200 meters. So it's a very, very slow wander in nature. And then at the end, so we enter, we help them to do that shift. Then we have the middle part, which is more of a fascination state. And then at the end is the incorporation, where we sit down, and perhaps if we know the land that we are, we collect some herbs along the way, we have some hot water, we sit down, we have a little tea ceremony, we give back to the earth. We perhaps, send, we give some tea. There is always a cup for the earth that, we give them as well. So we have that moments in which when we start sharing what our experience was, and we incorporate it to go into our daily life, so
wonderful.
It's about 3 hour, yeah.
And can you talk to us about biophilia, and then also the seat spot practice?
Oh, the biophilia effect, I think we kind of been talking, which is this need that because there is no part of ourselves in our human body that doesn't belong or doesn't come from nature, that we have this biological need. That's the biophilia hypothesis, that we have this biological need to just go into nature, and just, for our well-being, to boost our immune system. And we are the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food that we that we eat, and we are the microbes that we are exposed to.
Mhm.
And when we go into the forest, we are, I mean, our immune system goes, oh yeah, I mean, we are just exposed to, to the terpenes, the phytoncides, the pollens, the pheromones, the scents, the soil, the sunlight, and our immune system, it just boosts in resilience. And yeah.
It's terrific. So a couple of things. We are going to do a meditation in just a few moments that Adriana is going to take us through. And but I wanted to just ask you really quickly, what is the difference between mindfulness and forest bathing? That's one of the things that we discussed. Do you feel like we've already touched on that, or do you have a few more comments on that?
Actually, it's a really good question because a lot of people ask. And I think that you are mindful when you are in, that middle part of the walk, where you get into this state of being very present in your body, such an embodied practice. That is being mindful. I think mindfulness, I'm a mindfulness teacher as well. And, as we see mindfulness in general, number one, it has this idea, it's like, okay, let's learn to be mindful, and then, so it's more of a structured practice that is in general, and I'm generalizing, is in general, is a more formal that is done through sitting meditation. You can have mindfulness in nature, which is similar in that case, but still you're going into nature and you're going to perhaps be meditating, so you're going to be doing something. Forest bathing is more free. There is no instructions. We just open the door, like I said, and we just let it be, and you're going to have the experience that you need. So there is no instruction, so perhaps it's less intimidating for people. They don't, what happens sometimes is that when we say we're going to meditate, you say, oh, I have to do it this way, I have to do it that way. And we have this idea that it has, we're not doing it right. Forest bathing, there is no right or wrong. Is you're doing what your body needs to be doing.
It's like, you can have a walking meditation is just as powerful as meditation itself, or, forest bathing. I think it's even more nourishing than sometimes just sitting there. I mean, that's for me personally. But Adriana, I would,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, and it's personal also,
Mhm.
some people feel, one way, some people feel the other. So it's, it's very personal.
So one question we have is there a length of time that is necessary to be effective? I think that's a great question for right now.
To be effective.
To be effective, I mean, is there a length of time that you would recommend to forest bathe? Or is it just, couldn't you do it for 5 minutes, 15 minutes or more?
You're talking about the forest bathing because
Yes.
Okay, because the effects, the research is that if you go for a weekend, for a long weekend, and you do forest bathing for a long weekends in the woods, this is talking from the point of view of your health, the health impact. It lasts a whole month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So powerful.
Yeah, if you go one day, a couple of hours, it lasts 7 days. And this is the effects of the inhaling the phytoncides. They also did the research in hotel rooms where they got these very concentrated phytoncides and essential oils, and they put it in essential oils when you go to sleep in your bedroom, and it had the same effect. So that was the phytoncides doing that. So that's the health impact. When it comes to the rest of the impact in our psychological interest or that, anytime Anytime you can go into the garden, go outside. It doesn't matter what you have, do it.
Yes, it's so important
Just
to get
do it.
outside.
I mean, I can go, and if somebody has an hour to do forest bathing, I take them for an hour. You know, I am not going to say, oh no, we have to follow this rule. No, I'm not going to do that. You know, perhaps there are some people that do it, but I'm not doing that, because I'm just promoting. You can have an incredible experience, and you know, in just, you know, you never know what you find in nature, which actually takes me, I didn't answer your questions about the seed spot. And this is a really nice one, because I love seed spots. Seed spot is something that I do, and many of us do, which is, it's actually very simple. It's probably very boring for certain people when they hear this, but you basically find a place in nature and you just sit. How wonderful is that? And what do you do?
Wonderful.
Nothing. You do nothing. Just try it out. And that's probably going to make you very nervous. It's just funny, but
It's so good for you, isn't it?
very nervous. But just try to do that. Just the art of doing nothing. And what happens when we do that? And it usually takes about 20 minutes, but you can do it in, you know, like I said, you have 5 minutes, do it. But 20 minutes, give it 20 minutes. Find this, sit on the same place all the time as much as you can, and see what you notice. You're going to start notice things around you. I have a seated spot where I have, you know, like a bird bath. In the beginning, the birds, you know, singing very little. Then they start getting used to me. Then the singing starts. Then the little bird was on a branch. Then he dived into and started drinking. Then he started flapping the things, bathing themselves. They felt comfortable with me there. So I start having a relationship. They notice me, I notice them, I don't bother them. So then when you sit on the same spot the same day, you start noticing the little tiny, little living things all around you that usually pass completely unnoticed.
Adriana, that is such a beautiful example of being still and experiencing the seat spot. So thank you for sharing. I think this is a really good time to go into a short meditation. I know we were going to do an extended one, but for time purposes, we should do a shorter one. And then after the meditation, we'll do a Q&A. So please stay with us and go ahead and take it away for our shorter meditation. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a moment just to, you know, make yourself comfortable where you are. This is going to be a little bit of scans of your senses. We call it the pleasure of your presence. So I'm going to begin by inviting you to close your eyes if that feels good for you and right for you. Otherwise, just gazing down. And bring your attention to your body, to the sensations of your body, to your in-breath, to your out-breath. That's your first relationship with life, a relationship that connects you with all living things. And just notice the cycle of this life, your own life. Just noticing what is alive for you right now. The position that your body is in. I wonder, what does it feel to be in that position? supported by the earth beneath you. Held by the gravitational forces that keep us reminding us where we're coming from, where we belong. And now bring your attention to the parts of your body that is in closest connection to the earth. No matter if you are a few floors above the earth, we are all connected by this invisible energy. And I invite you to grow your own roots and imagine your own roots start sinking deep into the earth that you are in and spread in every direction, slowly interconnecting it underground. I wonder what your roots would encounter deep in the land that you are in. I wonder how many unknown worlds you are on top of. I wonder how many beings they have been in the exact place that you're in right now before us. So connecting with the history of this earth, with the stillness, the resilience. And as your roots continue the journey deep underground, becoming conscious of the earth's own journey to be the way it is right now. Just like us, the earth has gone through its share of struggles to be here the way that it is, meeting you right now. I wonder, how does it feel to be meeting? To be so intimately rooted in it. And now, ever so gently, switching your attention to the sensations of the body above the earth, where the skin meets the outdoors. I wonder what you notice. Is it cold? Is it warm? Or neutral? It's also an experience. I wonder what is the difference between the skin that is exposed and the skin that is covered by your clothes. Perhaps bringing your hands together. How does it feel to be touched by your own hands? Perhaps exhaling into your hands. How does your breath feels in your skin? And as we explore this tactile, perhaps you can give yourself a hug. How does it feel to be held by your own hands? To receive this touch, this relationship with yourself, this support. And now switching to the smells. The smells is the only sense that it has a direct highway to the memories and emotions in the brain. I wonder if you smell anything in the air. Or perhaps you can detect the scent of your own human life. If you bring your hands close to your nose. I wonder what your scent is like. And taste and smells are in very close proximity in the brain. So I wonder what you're testing right now. Perhaps your last meal, a sip of coffee or tea. I wonder what you are tasting right now. And now I invite you to be playful. And if you dare to be playful, I invite you to open your mouth wide and take a bite of air. I wonder, how does the air taste? And now shifting your focus to sounds. I wonder, what are the farthest sounds that you can hear? How about the closest one, the most intimate ones? I wonder if you are aware of the sounds of your own presence, of this life that is breathing you. Or perhaps you want to add your own sound to the sounds of nature by giving a private hum to nature. And now keeping your eyes closed, and as best you can, in whatever position you are, very gently, I invite you to start turning around very gently, very slowly, perhaps one way or to the other side. And keep moving around until the body tells you to stop. That's where your body wants to be. And now I invite you to place your hands in the area of your heart. I wonder what your heart might want to reach in the direction that you stopped. Perhaps something very close, or something across the lands and seas. I wonder what your heart is beating for. And now, but not just yet, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes, not just yet, ever so gently, like it would be the first time that you're opening your eyes, beginner's eyes. And when you do this, I invite you to consider that everything that you are beginning to see is also seeing you, is also feeling your presence. And now, whenever you are ready, very gentle, open your eyes and look at your surroundings. And if you find any pleasure, just stay there, just for a moment, and savor it. And now I invite you to come back whenever you're ready.
Adriana, that was just so beautiful. I mean, I just feel so full of love and beauty. And thank you for sharing that. And we're already getting in comments like, thank you so much for that beautiful meditation. And thank you. What a beautiful way to have a Saturday morning be, and Saturday afternoon for some of you to be full of joy like this. With that, I would like to open it up for questions if you would like to put those in the chat. One question, Adriana, is does forest bathing also beneficial in the winter?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, nature is nature. And even indoors.
Will you talk to us a little bit about the indoor piece? That was one of my questions, but if you are indoors, what can you do?
There is, if you can't go indoors or have limited access to be indoors, one of the studies shows, for example, that patients in hospitals, that they have a window and they're able to look at trees and green. They have a much better recuperation time of their illnesses. I mean, it's really incredible. So bringing inside is, as I mentioned, the essential oils would be a wonderful way. Just go with your senses. So, for example, my recommendation would be, get some essential oils that are evergreens, pine if you can, cypress, whatever you can, find like that. That would be a wonderful way to do it, to remind us of the outdoor insides. Also it's also about being present, because the desk that I'm sitting is wood. Can I honor that and not just use it for my own thing, So it's a state of mind, it comes also this what forest bathing gives you is this state of mind of connection. So we don't use things. This is my desk and I love my desk and it serves me, but I can also take a second to recognize it.
You know, my mom, Adriana, just to kind of add on to that, my mom always said, everything is alive. And she would even honor the desk as something that was alive. And while I didn't get that when I was little, I certainly get that now, that there's still energy in everything around us.
This desk, I mean, if you really, I mean, I just gave the example of this desk, and now I'm going to go on this desk, but but in order for this desk to be here, it has gone through so much. At one point, it was this beautiful tree somewhere. Somebody came and cut it. And then the truck that carries was driven by somebody somebody had a family that he had to feed, and that was his job. And then he went through factories, and then it just ended up in lumber or whatever you call that. And then somebody grabbed it and had a beautiful idea of how to do it, and put it manually and made a desk, and then it ended up in a shop, and then I bought it. And there is so much going on, so much life alive in this one desk.
Right.
And we can do that with everything. I'm talking too much, I guess.
No, I just think that's such a beautiful way to end, because we take for granted so much in our life. I mean, we take everything for granted, and you just put it so beautifully as a way to, have a remembrance of its history and the people who were a part of the story. So with that, I just want to thank you so much, Adriana, for being here this morning. My life definitely has been enhanced by the last hour. So thank you so much. And it's just such a beautiful gift that you gave us this morning. So
Thank you
thank you.
for the opportunity to, to share this.
I am sure that Adriana and I will be working together on something in the near future. So I just have that feeling, and I'm going to put that out there. Yes, with that, I would like to share that I put Adriana's bio in the email that I sent out this morning, and also a list of events that we have coming up